Citroen's e-C3 aims to redefine what a small EV can be, and makes most other compact electric hatches look needlessly expensive. The brand's smallest hatch gains a crossover vibe and a newfound fresh direction.
So, affordable electric motoring for the masses, we've been promised that before, but this car, Citroen's e-C3, might get a little closer to it. The starting price point of just over £20,000 isn't much different to that of its most obvious competitor, the Dacia Spring, but unlike that rival, the e-C3 is a proper five-seater and it has a significantly higher driving range. And that's why Citroen feels it can describe this model as the most affordable proper electric car on the market. It's also European built, unlike the Chinese-made Dacia. This is the fourth generation of C3 we've seen, a lineup which will also include a significantly cheaper conventional petrol version. It's a model range which accounted for over 40% of Citroen's total sales in its previous generation, so it could hardly be more important. This time around, there is a chunkier crossover vibe. The e-C3 will be key to Citroen's realignment going forward as an affordable electric mobility brand. You can find out more about this kind of car by downloading the Car and Driving app, and if your interest is specifically in this e-C3, you'll need to stay with us for the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. It's telling that in a quarter of a century of history, the C3 model line has never offered any sort of even mildly sporty model. It's just never been that kind of car, and it still isn't now. You could argue, as we often have, that the comfort-orientated approach that this little Citroen has always pursued instead is the most appropriate one for a small hatch, which is, after all, going to spend almost all its life on the pockmarked streets of suburbia, which is fine, provided things don't fall to pieces as soon as you leave the city limits. The soft ride is very evident from the moment that you set off, even more so with this fourth generation model, because its comfort suspension features the advanced comfort hydraulic bump stops we've seen added to the damping system of larger Citroen hatches. The idea of these is to take the edge off the reverberations from sharper potholes and speed humps. Now, to some extent they do, but if you come expecting to be cruising around town on some sort of cloud, then I'm afraid you are going to be sorely disappointed. The advanced comfort setup doesn't dispel road shocks, it's only there to minimize them. It doesn't feel very quick for a small EV, but the little 113 HP motor puts all the power through the front wheels that you really need. 62 miles an hour takes 10.4 seconds en route to 82 mph top speed. As we've already suggested, there's nothing about this car that really makes you want to drive it quickly anyway, despite its shrunken little Peugeot iCockpit style steering wheel. Certainly not the way that it goes around corners at speed, where the nose sometimes feels rather reluctant to turn in and body roll is very evident. Having said that though, there is plenty of grip and traction on offer if you really need it. Simplicity is the key with this e-C3, perhaps too much simplicity actually, because there's no eco driving mode and there's no way of boosting the 199 mile range by altering brake regeneration, not even a B gear selector setting. There is a C mode, but actually that does the opposite. The letter stands for coasting, which you'd select for smoother highway use to reduce regenerative braking, of course. The other thing that you might be reaching for on the highway is this little button by your right knee to turn off the particularly irritating speed limit sound. Now, we do understand why you have to have this. What we don't understand though is why it has to sound like a cheap microwave oven. One final point: don't be tempted to put those SUV-like looks to the test over bumpy trails. There is actually just 163 millimeters of ground clearance. Those familiar with the C3 model line will immediately notice that this time around, curvy cuteness has been swapped for a boxier, crossover-inspired, more mature vibe. This may be what the market wants, but it potentially makes this model a much less distinctive and individual proposition. To try to preserve some of that, there are styling cues from the wacky Ollie concept car, an unusual bluff nose section with the brand's latest badge, and colour clip inserts on either side of the car, which allow owners to add swappable, contrast-coloured accents. Previous C3 models have been a bit smaller than the class norm. An 80mm length increase for this 4th generation design does move this Citroen back a little more into line with rivals, but it is still shorter than its similarly engined Stellantis Group Super Mini cousins. The compact 4015mm body length makes it 50mm shorter than a Peugeot 208 and 55mm shorter than a Vauxhall Corsa. We mentioned the SUV vibe, hence the chevroned wheel arch cladding and these standard roof rails here, and the included colour clips which feature in either red, yellow, or as in this case in white on the D-pillars. You'll be pleased to find that these rather nice Atacamite diamond cut bitone 17-inch alloy wheels come as standard too, as does the contrast coloured roof offered in either black or this white finish. More colour clips feature at the front in the large corner cutouts. For some reason, Citroen feels the need to fit a grey skid plate style lower finisher on the bottom part of the bumper there. The LED headlights have a distinctive 3-part illuminating signature. There's a much more upright windscreen than the previous generation model had, and a short, high and horizontal bonnet flows down into the nose section with brand chevrons as its theme, not only on the oval centre badge, but also on the black strip it sits on. The rear treatment's neat too, with this black branded strip emphasising the 6mm increase in width. There's a neat roof spoiler, a bee-sting style aerial, a dinky rear wiper, and more skid plate style lower bumper trimming. As at the front, there's a 3-level lighting signature with 1 vertical and 2 horizontal lenses, which is supposed to look like blades. You only get these brighter LED tail lights with this top spec trim level though. Right, time to take a look inside, where it's nothing like any Citroen interior you've ever seen before. There are little red tabs stitched into the door handles, exhorting you to have fun and be cool. And in its own budget-minded friendly way, this cabin here is quite cool. The brand calls it its C-Zen Lounge, which turns out to mean a 2-level fascia with the technical elements above there and a cosy fabric-wrapped sofa design style section below. There's a pleasing selection of light and dark finishing, smart fabric fascia trimming, and a dinky little oval steering wheel, which, as with its Peugeot cousins iCockpit dashboard design, requires you to look at instruments over its rim rather than through its spokes. Now in this case though, those instruments don't sit in a conventional binnacle. Instead they sit in a narrow letterbox-like strip housing a small selection of digital readouts, and this is a layout that works really well. There's also lots else to like, primarily the well-padded advanced comfort seats with a smart 2-tone design and extra foam support. Easily the best chairs you'll find in the Super Mini segment. And there's such a clever, simple touch, light grey finishing for the inside of the door bins so you can more easily see their contents. The iPad-style central screen is just the right size, as are the strange vertical vents which bookend either corners of the dashboard. Build quality from the Slovakian factory seems okay, and it's nice, even in this EV version, to have a proper key that goes into a proper key slot so it doesn't end up rattling around in a cubby somewhere as you drive. And there are some branded touches if you look for them, like the since 1919 heritage models which are inscribed onto the inner side edge of the glove box lid. Now, we mentioned this narrow instrument strip, which Citroen calls a head-up display. Doesn't look like that at first glance, but sure enough, if you place a little ticket below the readout, that reveals there is actually projection going on here. This display, which might remind older folk of a 90s Renault Espace, prioritises the digital speedo, of course, but it can also show an eco driving meter, ambient temperature, and on this EV version, battery charge and range. It shows prevailing speed limits too, advertising them by one of the most annoying speed limit beeps that you'll come across. Fortunately though, there's a button by your right knee to quickly turn that feature off. As for the central infotainment screen, well, the good news is that at last Citroen has learned not to overburden this with climate controls. These are separated out lower down a centre stack. This monitor is 10.25 inches in size, and it turns out to be slightly more user-friendly than the usual Stellantis widget design item that you'll find on a Corsa or a 208. Volume is down on the left side, and there are shortcuts for radio, phone, nav and settings along the right frame. Swipe left for wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's a reasonable voice control system, and with this plusher trim level we have here, you get 3D navigation. Not everything's great, of course. The piano black center console trimming will smear and scratch almost immediately. The glove box is severely compromised in size by the fuse box right next to it. Citroen's forgotten to put ticket clips in the sun visors there, and rearward visibility is restricted by huge wide rear D-pillars. Plus, even on this top spec model, there are lots of blanked off switches by your right knee for, well, who knows what. You get a reasonable amount of cabin practicality though, including a deep lidded box between the seats here, twin cup holders ahead of the gear selection, and a cubby just below the handbrake switch with a USB-C port nearby. Another USB-C port lies to the left of the central screen, and this plush version also gives you a wireless charging mat below the climate controls. This feels a significantly bigger car than the old Mark III C3 model, so time to see what the lengthier 2.54 metre wheelbase serves up in the back. These colour-coded D-pillar panels look as if they might be door catchers, but a conventional handle features instead. Once inside, a little disappointingly, rear seat legroom isn't really very much better than it was in the previous generation design. Still, it is vastly better than something like, well, for example, a Renault 5, and a 6-foot passenger could just about sit behind a front seat occupant of the same stature, and that's helped by the fact that you can push your knees well into these squashy seat backs. The boxy silhouette's extra 5 inches of roof height does mean useful improvements in headroom, and that would feel even better if the ceiling didn't dip just over your head there. It's a pleasant surprise to find that Citroen has extended its advanced comfort seat design to these rear pews, so they get the same extra padding and smart design as those in the front. But as with other small Stellantis Super Minis, the headrests are of the sort that dig uncomfortably into your shoulders and neck until you raise them. Despite the low central tunnel, you wouldn't want to have to try to cram a middle-seated occupant in here, but this is a Super Mini, so you wouldn't expect to have to do that. Trendy red tabs feature again on the doors. These ones rather irritatingly exhort you to feel good and to be happy. You wouldn't expect to find grab handles, they've been forgotten, but the door bins, which are rather more like bottle holders actually, have helpful greyed out interiors like those out front. The seat backs have big lower pockets and small upper ones, and Citroen also provides twin USB-C ports, and rather pointlessly in the current age, a 12-volt socket too. At least there are 3 belts across the back here. Some small cheap cars don't offer those. We'll finish as usual with a look out back. Lift the light hatch and you'll find there's 310 litres of trunk capacity. Hardly amazing by class standards, but it's probably all you need. 5 carry-on suitcases will fit. And more of an issue is the fact that you have to lug everything over this high lip here, and that in this EV version at least, there's no extra space beneath the boot floor. Now this is a problem in this e-C3 because it means that the charging lead takes up space in and constantly slides around on the boot floor. Small recesses on either corner might help you to get awkward items like pushchairs in. There is also a bag hook on the right, a dim light on the left, and 4 floor tie downs. One day, a super mini maker might bring us a car with a conveniently split seat back, which allows you to push long items in between two rear-seated folk, but that day hasn't come yet. So there's just the usual 60-40 split. Fold everything flat, and there is a step in the floor of the extended load bay, which in this configuration offers up a modest 1,188 litres of space. As we filmed in summer 2025, this full electric e-C3 was priced from £22,095 in base plus trim, or at £23,795 for plusher max. But with the government's electric car grant just introduced at the time of this test, you can take £1,500 off those prices. In terms of equipment, you may feel that base plus spec is all you need. It comes with these Atacamite diamond cut bi-tone 17-inch alloy wheels, LED auto headlights, rear parking sensors, air conditioning, roof rails, auto wipers, cruise control and an alarm. Fashionable touches include front and side colour clips, front and rear grey skid plates, black wheel arch extensions and this trendy two-tone roof here. Inside you get advanced comfort seats trimmed in urban grey cloth. That's along with air conditioning and what Citroen calls a head-up display. Now this brings data into your line of sight. You get a 10.25-inch central infotainment touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and also Android Auto. Those are wireless smartphone mirroring systems, of course, and a 6-speaker audio system. This range-topping Max model doesn't visually look much different to the Plus version, but if you are a C3 customer who's decided to stretch up to a Max model, then you'll also get 3D navigation, automatic air conditioning, wireless smartphone charger, LED rear lights, a heated steering wheel, there's also a heated windscreen and rear parking camera too. Max trim also gets you a nicer Metropolitan grey cloth upholstery with part leather effect trim. Do bear in mind that Citroen makes some of its money back via the small print. It's a bit of a cheat to charge an extra £20 for a puncture repair kit. If you're planning on charging this e-C3 using a 3-phase 11 kilowatt supply, you'll have to pay more again. And only one of the 6 available colours, Monte Carlo Blue, is standard. All the others cost extra, and quite a lot extra if you don't choose the polar white shade. The body colour you choose will also dictate the colour of the contrasting roof. There's black or white, and also the colour of the contrast clips, which feature at the front and on the D pillars. There's red, yellow or white. Disappointingly, the e-C3 can't be had with the option of a heat pump to preserve range in cold weather. On to safety. On all models, Citroen includes its safety pack, which includes active safety brake autonomous braking, also an active lane departure warning system. There's speed limit recognition and driver attention alert too. Plus you'll get tyre pressure monitoring, and of course there are twin front, side and curtain airbags, all linked to an e-call system. The 44 kilowatt hour battery is supposed to be able to take you up to 199 miles between charges. There is no heat pump available though to preserve range in cold weather, and not even as an option. Citroen claims that the e-C3 is capable of rapid charging at rates of up to 100 kilowatts. That's a very modest speed, which allows for a 20 to 80% charge in 26 minutes. At home, you'll be able to 20 to 80% charge from a 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box in just 4 hours 10 minutes. If your property has a 3-phase supply, you'll be able to use the optional 11 kilowatt charge system, in which case the 20 to 80% charging time will be just under 3 hours. At the other extreme though, using a domestic socket for a full recharge would need a yawning 21 hours and 54 minutes. What else? Well, like all EVs, this e-C3 has a low benefit in kind tax rating set at 3% for the 2025 tax year. Compare that to 28% for the hybrid and 31% for the turbo 100 horsepower combustion C3 variant. All versions of this model are covered by the brand's usual unremarkable 3-year 60,000 mile warranty, plus with the e-C3 the battery has its own 8-year warranty. It's clever to make a small, usable, fashionable electric car, but it's even cleverer to make it affordable in the way that Citroen has with this C3. The company's future as an affordable mobility brand starts right here. This car could and was expected to be merely a repackaged version of other Stellantis Group small hatches, like electric versions of the Vauxhall Corsa and the Peugeot 208. Instead, it's a lot more for a lot less. Not everyone will like the squirrel new looks or the divisively styled cabin, but customers are tolerant of individualistic design in this part of the market, and those who like it will probably love it. For us, the car's well worth the premium it requires over feebler ranging small EVs like the Dacia Spring and the Leapmotor T03. And we can't really see why you'd pay vastly more in this segment for a Vauxhall Corsa electric or a Peugeot e-208. We're still not being served up a small EV for the masses here, but perhaps the e-C3 gets closer to that goal than any car before it.